What is IP address and how many types of IP addresses are there in total? IP address is a number which is assigned to every networking device, every computer, every mobile phone, every printer, every security camera, because we need an identification. Just like you and me, we have our passport number, our national ID card number. Similar to this one, networking devices, they also need a number. It is used for logical division, of course, not for physical, and it is used for identification of the device location inside the network. So it tells us that this device currently belongs to which network, right? The examples of IP addresses are IPv4, it is written in this format, dotted decimal notation along with subnet mask, and IPv6 is written in this kind of hexadecimal notation. We'll see them. And how many types of IP addresses are there? IP addresses can be divided into types based on different classification criteria, right? Just like if you have so many apples, you can say that, okay, I can divide the apples based on their size. Some are big, some are small. We can say, okay, I can also divide these apples based on their color. Some are reddish, some are green. We can also say we can divide them based on their type, right? So similarly here in the IP addresses, we can divide, these are all IP addresses, but we can divide into different types based on the classification criteria. The first one is we can divide based on the operation method, which means that in terms of operation, there can be three types of IP addresses: unicast, broadcast, multicast. Unicast means one-to-one, means send the data to a single receiver. Broadcast means send the data to all devices. Multicast means send the data to a specific group of devices, right? Unicast means I send a message directly to one of you. Broadcast means I send a message to all of you at one time. Multicast means I send a message to specific people, just like radio stations. Okay. After that, the second type of classification, we can say IP addresses are of two types: IPv4 and IPv6. IPv4 was the original version which came in 1983, but it got finished so quickly and it is still finishing, almost finished. That's why we had to move to other techniques like NAT or IPv6. So it is the revised version, it is a new version by IETF organization which came in 1995. So around 12 years after IPv4 from 1983, we found that IPv4 they are finishing because it's 32-bit number, which means 2 raised to power 32, 4.3 billion IP addresses, which are finishing very quickly in modern world when we have so many mobile phones, we have smart TVs, we have smart cars, Internet of Things devices. So 4.3 billion or 32-bit address space is not enough. So we are moving slowly to IPv6 now. It's a 128-bit IP address or number which is written in this kind of hexadecimal. So two types based on their versions, version 4 and version 6. Then we can also divide IP addresses based on their assignment method, like how they are assigned. We can say that there are two methods or two types through which IP addresses can be classified or through which they can be assigned. So we can assign them manually, you, me, or anybody who is configuring, or they can be assigned dynamically, means automatically based on some rules. Then we go to the fourth type, fourth classification, which is D. So we have divided into A, B, C, D, and then it is based on the classes. If we see IP addresses in terms of classes, there are total 5 classes, out of which 3 classes are mainly used in day-to-day operations and 2 classes are for special purposes, or we can say system reserved. We have class A, class B, and class C. There is a detailed lecture for classes. You guys can watch. I can give the link in description, in which we have gone through IP subnetting, different scenarios and everything. Okay, then the last type classification, the last types of classifications of IP addresses, we can divide them into two, which is public and private. Public, which is given by our ISP, which is assigned to all the networks or devices which are facing to the internet. Private, which we use at our homes or our offices. So public IP address, which is used to locate the network devices on internet or public networks. Private IP addresses are the ones which are used to locate the network devices on local or private networks so that we can repeat it. I think it will be more clarified to you if you watch my series of IP subnetting short course, which is also available on the same YouTube channel and Facebook page. There are private IP addresses ranges which are A, B and C. So you can see out of this whole full range which starts from 1 up to 126 with the first digit, we have only reserved 10 dot something, which means out of this range from 1.0.0 up to 126, we will only use 10.0 dot something. The remaining all will be public. Only this will be private range. So you can draw it, just write it again, all these ranges and these ones, and then try to correlate them. Then you will understand. Then class B, we have only chosen anything which starts from 172.16 up to 172.31, which means 172.16.17.18 up to .31. From class C, this is 192.168, which is private, and this is the most famous range which we see in our homes, in our offices, and the second most common is 10. So we have two types, public and private IP addresses. So these are 5 types of classifications which have been given to the IP addresses. We can divide them through operation methods, unicast, broadcast, multicast, 3 types. If we see them in terms of versions, there are 2 versions, IPv4, IPv6. If we see them in terms of assignment method, then we can either assign them statically or dynamically. If we see them in terms of classes, there are 5 classes A, B, C and D, out of which 3 A, B, C are usable in normal networks. If we see them in terms of visibility, then we have 2, public and private. So I hope it was useful that what is IP address and how many types of IP addresses are there. There is also a practical lab which I have given to you guys. You can see the link, I'll post in the description, or you can ask in comments, in which I asked you to configure IP addresses and MAC addresses. And MAC addresses of course cannot be configured, you have to just observe. So IP and MAC lab is very important, and also the assignments which I gave you for IP subnetting are very important to understand these classes and public private. So thank you for watching. I hope it was informative. If you have any questions, please write in the comment section below.